This is False Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm John Buhler, staff writer, fansided.com. I'm flying solo like a cup today for 3 yards and a cloud of punt because Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com, and the NC State podcast are enjoying some well-deserved time off there in the great outdoors, Yellowstone. They're getting really connected with nature, and you're going to get really connected with me. Yes, I'm going to be the one in charge of getting this stuff up on video, and it's going to be a hoot and a half. But yes, college football this week was fantastic. I think that the product we saw on the field across the board is why I love the sport so much. Just when you think you know everything, you know absolutely nothing. I mean, we saw Michigan get a home upset over USC. We saw Mizzou get pushed to the brink by Vanderbilt. We saw Oklahoma try to come back versus Tennessee. Uh, this is why I love this sport so much. You never really know what's going to happen week to week. So yes, we're going to do 3 yards and a cloud of punt. Get you set up for a nice NFL Sunday, and then I'll have a special guest on Monday show and Thursday show before Cody is back on Saturday after Alabama, Georgia. It's going to be one of those events where like he's going to either pat me on the back to congratulate me or console me. It's going to be great. But I want to start here. I'm going to run with this first thing. Miami is without question the best team in the ACC. They're 4-0. They went out there and they beat the brakes off of South Florida, a team that I thought very highly of entering the season. Alex Golesh is a fantastic coach, but he seems to have limits with what he can do on offense. Miami went out there and laid a 50 burger on them. It's pretty clear to me that the Hurricanes have the best trio in the ACC with Cam Ward at quarterback, Damian Martinez at running back, and Xavier Restrepo wide receiver. Nobody else can really match that. And as I'm watching Miami play, either up close or from far away, they just look dominant. This is what happens when you recruit really well at the grassroots level with high school talent. Those players eventually become, sophomores and juniors and start competing for your team. This is year 3 now that Mario Cristobal's been back into Coral Gables. And I've never had any issue with his ability to recruit. I know he can develop linemen and he can recruit. He's not an X's and O's guy. He's more of a CEO type. He's very fortunate that he has a tremendous offensive coordinator in Shannon Dawson. Maybe he'll start to get looks there to be a future head coach somewhere. But again, as I'm watching Miami, they go out there and they crush people. And that's what you hope to see out of an ACC, Big 12, Big 10, or SEC, ACC champion. That's what you want to see out of a Power 4 champion. As I take this away, as I really think about what Miami has done up to this point, uh, I think they're going to make the playoff even if they don't win the ACC. The problem is I don't know who's going to challenge them. Like right now, as I'm watching the Hurricanes play, I have a hard time seeing this team be any worse than 10-2. They may have a few roadblocks on their schedule. Florida State finally got a win. During the preseason episodes, I had their one loss being at Cal. That could still happen, but it's really how they do an ACC play. I think they're going to go 7-1 and get to Charlotte. If they do that, they'll win it and they'll be comfortably the 3 seed. Still trying to figure out what the Big 12 is going to provide at this point. Maybe the team that's going to be the equivalent of Miami will present itself. But like, I guess the only other team that I really think could conceivably do this is Clemson because they play Georgia and Georgia's fantastic. Duke looks pretty good, but I look across the ACC. There's a lot of really good. There's not a lot of great. I think Miami might be great, and I'm going to see them continue to climb up the rankings heading into week 5. But again, like, who have they really played? I mean, you beat South Florida and Florida. Doesn't really matter what their other 2 games are. But like right now, they're playing with a lot of confidence. And I think with that confidence is going to get them at least 4 wins in ACC play just because, they're going to win walking off the bus. It's how they do in the other 4. And the thing with Miami is we always know that, ever since they joined the ACC from the Big East, that this type of game is certainly within the realm of possibility. Like this can happen. So yeah, I'm pretty high on what Miami can do here for the most part. I'm not going to say I'm an idiot about Mario Cristobal because like we haven't seen him play in the ACC yet this year. He could have that game where he moronically is like, yeah, I'm not going to like take a knee and lose to Georgia Tech and allow the Yellow Jackets to go bowling. but I do know that they have talent on offense. They're playing really hard on defense. And if you're going to beat them, you have to beat them in a shootout. And I love Clemson has the ability to do that with Cade Klubnik. Maybe Duke could do it with Malik Murphy, but again, I think Miami has such a talent advantage, across the field over Duke that may be challenging as well. Clemson might be able to have the guys, outside of quarterback, but again, Miami looks like the most complete team in the ACC. And I guess like the last little thing I'll say about this before I move on to my next topic to run with 3 hours in a cloud of punt here for a false start is I'm happy to see Miami be playing well right now. This is one of the biggest brands in college football. They're a glamour program. They recruit a lot of the same people out of Dade Brevard County. It's very blue collar. It's very flashy. They play with a lot of attitude and swagger. I don't know if the U is quite there yet. Maybe it'll get there in ACC play, but you want to see teams in the ACC like Miami, Florida State, Clemson, Virginia Tech. You want to see those big brands really bubble to the surface. And with Florida State kind of being down, Clemson trending down, and Virginia Tech again, I think they lost to Rutgers this week. We kind of probably overhyped the Hokies a little bit. It's good to look at the ACC right now and say at least they've got Miami. So I'm pretty happy with what Mario Cristobal's team is doing right now. They're clearly the best team in the ACC. I don't know if that means they're going to win multiple playoff games, but like they'll be like the 3 seed at this time right now. But the more I think about it, when it comes to Miami, like that 3 seed may be closer to like an 8 seed than like a 12 seed, like I would have thought at the start of the year. So, good job by them for the Hurricanes for getting to this point. Looking at my second topic here, I'm gonna run with this. I'm going to run with Michigan having a run-based offensive attack. That stunned me. Not that Michigan had success running the football, but like they beat USC being very one-dimensional offensively. Khalil, I think I'm trying to blank out his last name is Michigan running back Khalil Mullings. Yes, I was going to say like Mulligans. Yes, he had a fantastic day. We all know about Donovan Edwards there in the backfield for the Wolverines. When Alex Orji is limited as a thrower, but he can run the ball very well. Michigan continues to play great defense. Obviously, Will Johnson got hurt, and that sucks. But Sherrone Moore stuck to his guns. He's like, look, I'm a former offensive lineman. I love to run the football. We're going to play smash mouth football, very physical. And even though I think USC is much better in terms of being tough, they eventually did get exposed. I think had this game been in Los Angeles as opposed to Ann Arbor, maybe the score goes in a different manner. And again, I think USC is improving. I think D'Anton Lynn's the right coordinator they need to have on that side of the ball. Lincoln Riley's still in charge, and I don't know if that win or I don't know if that win's going to keep Michigan still in the playoff picture or if it's going to officially remove USC. But we have some things to think about. Maybe Texas is just that good. Maybe LSU is not that good. Uh, there's a lot of things that we still don't know in the Power Four and in the Big Ten for that matter. Um, when I'm looking at Michigan now, I said on like I think Thursday's episode, like I think on Monday's episode, Cody and I were like, they need to make a change. It's not working with Davis Warren. And then they made a change pretty quickly thereafter. And then I would say with Michigan uh, making the change that early, like Sherrone Moore is like, yes, it's gonna be Alex Orji as our starter. I'm like, well, why don't you just like leave that to chance and like really mess with like the defensive staff's mind, Alex or and look at Riley's mind there at USC. He stuck to his guns. He's like, you know what, I'm gonna go with Alex Orji, and the offense and the team responded to him, and that's kind of what I was hoping for. When Davis Warner goes out there, I kind of felt like the offense was like gonna come up dead, like it wasn't gonna do much of anything. Uh, he completed all of his passes, I think, versus Arkansas State, but 3 of them were picks, and I don't think any of them were for touchdowns. We saw Arkansas State just get absolutely clobbered by Iowa State, a team that's kind of like a lesser version of Michigan. Rocco Beck looked really good. Cyclones might be legit, but with Michigan, like I didn't want to cross them off officially as a playoff team at the start of the year. Texas loss was bad, didn't look particularly good versus Fresno or Arkansas State. But again, you're allowed to improve in this sport, and that's one of the most beautiful parts about it. Um, I don't know if Orji is ever going to really develop as a passer. I think Michigan's got to continue to recruit players out of high school. They got to find a guy that's going to fit with what Schroeder wants to do offensively. But right now, this can work. The problem with this working is you're basically Iowa. Under Kirk Ferentz, it's just futile trying to throw the football. You play great defense, you can win with special teams, you can run the ball maybe occasionally, but passing, I think once you're down, you're just not going to catch up. I do think that like the end there, that big run that set up the game-winning touchdown, that was huge. That was a play that like changed the entire dynamic of the Michigan season. Because what you got to remember is if they lose that game, they're 2-2, they're 0-1 in Big Ten play, and they've lost to the two uh, Power Four teams of note. Like if you lose to Texas and USC, two other massive brands, that's going to knock you out of the top 25. And even if you went off and rattled like a handful of wins over like, Big Ten competition, no one's going to care. But you get this win over USC, you're going to go from like 18, you may go up to like 14 or 15, possibly swap spots with, Oklahoma State, who lost to Utah today. We'll talk a little bit more about Utah as well. Um, this is one of the things about college football I like. If you can go in there with a game plan and your players can execute, you could win. Because I think executing at a very high level is challenging for a lot of college students. And the pros, it's demanded out of you. I mean, you can out execute anybody, but if you don't have the best guys, it doesn't really matter. Those guys that are professionals at all 32 NFL teams, they work their tails off. They work and they put in so much prep to be able to do all this. And like sometimes like people get fired. They go 4-13 and they work their tails off. But I think if you approach this like Michigan did, then you can sneak up on people. And I'm not saying that USC walked into this game thinking they were going to win, like, and Michigan was going to put up a real fight. But I think they did overlook Michigan a little bit. Probably talked to Alicia Dara Castillo when she comes on the program to guest host for Cody on Monday about this game. She's going to need more time to kind of react to what happened there in Ann Arbor with her Trojans. But uh, I don't know if this is a referendum on Lincoln Riley. I just feel that like it kind of still kind of plays the narrative like I don't really trust him. I think that this is more. I like this team mostly because I like Miller Moss, Zachariah Branch, and Deanton Lynn more than him. So I mean, like, I still think USC is a playoff caliber team. Maybe Michigan is more than I thought, but what a win there for Michigan. After getting thoroughly embarrassed versus Texas a couple weeks ago, to bounce back with a pair of wins at home, that's going to give you some confidence in heading into conference play. I don't know how well this team's going to do when they actually have to play on the road. I don't think they've played on the road yet, but like when they do, uh, they're going to have to lean on the run game because the passing game is not going to happen. If they protect their own turf at home, I think they'll be okay. But again, they may not have as many home games as you would think. I mean, I also don't think that this offense that Michigan's going to do is going to beat the likes of Ohio State. That's going to be challenging. There are teams out there in the Big Ten that put up a lot of points. Again, I don't know every schedule off the top of my mind, but like you see what Indiana's doing there with Kurt Cignetti and Curtis Rourke at quarterback. That team can put up a lot of points. We know what Maryland's capable of with Mike Locksley calling the shots on their offense in College Park. Um, but like Michigan knows how. I think this is kind of more like they know how they have to win. And they're going to have to win with great running, ball control, and good defense. And I think they have to out physical teams. This may work against a team trying to transition from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten and USC. But what you have to remember is every team in the Big Ten that's been there for a while is tough. Like the way that they played, that's not going to beat Illinois. Illinois looked really good. They're 4-0. They beat Nebraska. I don't know if this beats Nebraska. Dylan Raiola can really spin it. That team is still trying to figure it out a little bit, but Illinois may be a lot better than we anticipated. Michigan State looks pretty good. I mean, I don't know if they won today, but they played Boston College really tough as well. And that's supposed to be a rebuilding team. But I guess to tie a bow on Michigan here before I go on to what I'm going to pass on is when you look at Michigan right now, they're a different team with Alex Orji leading it than Davis Warren. it's hard to put a finger on it, but it's palpable and it's real and it's undeniable, honestly. Like all offseason long, I'm like, okay, are they going to get somebody in the portal? Are they going to go get a Jordan McLeod? Are they going to get DeQuan Finn? Are they going to get a Dante Moore? And they didn't get any of them. They stuck with their guns. Like, yes, Alex Orji is our guy, and we're going to run with him. So that's pretty exciting to me. But I don't know why Davis Warren like got the starting job from the get-go. I'm like, dude can't really play. I mean, he kind of looks like a quarterback, but like when the lights are on, he kind of shrinks. And I think with Orgy out there, he doesn't shrink. I think he thrives for these moments. He gets his teammates fired up. You're not going to get that big run from like Mullings later that end up winning the game. You're not going to convert that 4th and 1 to score and go up like by like a field goal or something like that with inside of a minute. That's the type of stuff that builds a program. That's the type of stuff that builds character. I was wrong. I'm an idiot, but I did say that going to Orgy was going to pay out in dividends for the Michigan team going forward. And Sherrod Moore was right for making that change. I wish he would have started him sooner. Moving on to our third and penultimate topic, I'm going to pass here. I'm going to pass. Let's make sure I get this right. North Carolina public school Power Four football. Terrible day for the Tar Heels and a terrible day for the Wolfpack. Not a good day for Cody Williams or the NC State podcast, although I know she doesn't care. Uh, it's over for Mac Brown in Chapel Hill. They were 3-0, and they gave up like 50 points at halftime to James Madison. And again, that's no slight on James Madison. This is a very talented group of five team, one of the best teams in the Sun Belt. But like they're transitioning. Kurt Signetti and a lot of his staff and a lot of his players left to go to Indiana. But I think Indiana is so good. Bob Chesney comes in from Holy Cross, and holy smokes, he scored 70 points at Keenan. That's impressive. And I thought JMU was going to pull back considerably, and they got a major win in the non-conference over the Tar Heels. I thought that like the quarterback play, particularly with Max Johnson going down, and then you got Connor Harrell, and then Jacoby Criswell as like the backups. I thought that like, okay, North Carolina is going to be playing at a massive disadvantage here behind, under center and everything like that with Johnson down. But that really wasn't the case. Creswell played pretty well in the second half. Problem is, their defense sucks. And Jeff Collins is the defensive coordinator, and that guy's a buffoon. I saw him be a buffoon at Georgia Tech. Temple's obviously not been the same since he left, but it's pretty clear that Mac Brown doesn't know who is good on the defensive side of the ball as a coach. uh North Carolina kind of looks like Texas Tech, like what it used to be, under Cliff Kingsbury and before after Mike Leach got let go. That's a team that they need to get something different in there. Mac Brown's done a lot and multiple tenures here with multiple tenures there with messed up the stopwatch that happens on this show. But yeah, he with multiple tenures here at North Carolina. They needed him to come back. He needed to stabilize this after Larry Fedora, and he did. He got Sam Howell to come here. He got Drake May to come here. They both went out and had great careers, but like it's got to be more than just a quarterback at this point. This is the flagship university in North Carolina, and it's not it's not as good as it needs to be. And what really pains me is like I thought they had a lot of recruiting momentum a couple of years ago. They were kind of going into the Tidewater region, kind of the area that Brent Pry has been trying to go after there at Virginia Tech, what he had done very successfully when he was at Penn State. And recruitment kind of feels dead. They know that it's kind of a year by year thing with Mac Brown, and it's hard to commit to play for a guy for 3 to 4 to 5 years if you don't think he's going to be there by the time you get on campus. I don't know who they go for as head coach. I know Cody says let's get Jamie Chadwell out of Liberty. I think in theory that would work. I think he would fit in pretty good culturally, but like in kind of a gimmicky offense, very run centric, only been at the group of five level in any capacity. And honestly, you've seen Grayson McCall look like a shell of himself at North Carolina State. I'll talk about the Wolfpack here in a second, but I don't know what you do. You got to get a recruiter. You got to get some guy who's going to bring some juice offensively. Uh, I don't think you can go in there with a defensive minded guy and fix this overnight. You got to get some guy that's going to want people that want to play it for the Tar Heels. You know, really use that to your advantage. Again, I think North Carolina is going to fit in any league they play in. They can keep the ACC alive as long as they want to. Academically, they can fit into the Big Ten. Culturally, they can fit in the SEC. I don't think they really need to go to the Big 12. I think they're too big for that. But like, this is a massive brand, and they need a head coach of the future that's going to get them there. I'm trying to think who else would be like a good fit for them. Maybe Alex Galesh could be a good fit. But I mean, obviously, he's had some issues with offensive talent there in South Florida. But again, he's an offensive minded coach, having been under Josh Heupel's staff there in Tennessee and UCF prior to that. Maybe get Buster Faulkner from Georgia Tech. He's doing a lot of creative things there with the Ramblin' Wreck. The right head coach will emerge for North Carolina, but it's over for Mac Brown. So they're not going to fire him now. That would be a shame. He's a college football Hall of Famer. He's won a national champion at Texas. Like, we're not going to do that. Like, allow him to retire with dignity and grace, and then find a right answer there. You know, you did that for like Roy Williams. You did that for a bunch. Dean Smith. Like, treat it as such. This is the equivalent of that for your football team. This, I understand it's a basketball school, but Mac Brown has been sensational over two different 10 years there at North Carolina. Let's not treat him like dirt. But we may have to treat the North Carolina State Wolfpack like dirt. They really had no answer for Clemson. Clemson put up a ton of points on them. I don't think Clemson's offense is all that good. Something's missing, and I can't quite put my finger on it. You know, it seems to be incongruence. I think they're in Raleigh. Dave Doran's a good coach. This is a team that a lot of people thought, could win the ACC this year. Cody thought that that's who was going to do it. I was a little more skeptical. I thought they were going to be 8-4. This might be a 6-6 team. I think for me, the big challenge that I'm seeing is all on offense. Grayson McCall did not play well first couple of games of the year versus Western Carolina and then versus Tennessee. He might be hurt now, or he didn't play, or he got benched, or whatever. The point is, it doesn't matter. He's not out there. And when he was out there, he wasn't good. I remember watching the Tennessee game 2 weeks ago in prime time before Cody and I did 3 yards and a cloud of punt. The big thing that I noticed was like, for the amount of experience they had on offense and the offensive line, it didn't matter. They looked just old. It was like graduate students. They weren't really ready for what we saw from the Tennessee defense. I'll talk about them, talk about the Vols here a little bit in that regard. But I think really the big thing is whatever it is with Robert and I and the offense there in Raleigh, it's just not working. And Dave Doran's a defensive-minded coach, or I don't know if that's the case, but like, he's at least gotten to the point where it's a CEO type sort of feel. And he's got to get a better coordinator there, because for whatever reason, that offense has really stagnated since, honestly, since Tim Beck left to go take over at Coastal. It's been a challenge there. And I wonder what's going to happen with North Carolina State this year. They had a fantastic year on the hardwood. DJ Burns took the Wolfpack to the Final Four. They beat my Bulldogs to go to the College World Series. But, just when you trust, like, North Carolina State's having a moment in athletics across the board, you have a craptastic start to the year like this. They're 2-2. Lost the Textile Bowl badly to a huge rival in Clemson. Can't have that. And I know that at the end of the year, North Carolina play North Carolina State, and the winner of that game will probably go bowling. Lose that game, I'm not so sure. But I would say, at least with North Carolina, they were able to put up points with backup and third string quarterbacks. With NC State, I don't know what their identity is. I don't know what they're trying to do. North Carolina, they're like, okay, let's just win a bunch of shootouts. Whereas NC State, it's like, okay, are they defensive? Do they run the ball? Do they throw the ball? Do they play good in tight moments? I don't really know. But it's certainly a challenge for them. And I do wonder if David Doran's going to be put on the hot seat this year if they go like 4-8. I wouldn't fire him because he's been incredible for them for about a decade. But at some point, this was a year with a lot of expectations. You play in the Pop-Tart Bowl along with Kansas State, another team that people are like, okay, along with another team that looks like they're going to be going to the playoff or at least contending for it, and they weren't. Kansas State, we'll see how they do with BYU and how they play with them later. They could be incredibly good. They are not doing hot right now. I looked at that. They're down 17-6 to the Cougars. So maybe have some thoughts there about K-State and the Big 12 in general. But I just feel that like North Carolina and North Carolina State are not having a good moment right now. Factor in the Panthers are terrible in the NFL. That really sucks. Wake Forest didn't play, but they're terrible. At least Duke's good, but I mean, a lot of people in North Carolina hate Duke, and that's the way it is. Finally, I'm gonna punt on a couple of teams that I don't know about. So I'm gonna make sure I get this correctly here. So we're gonna look at my sheet. I'm gonna punt on three teams. I'm gonna punt on Tennessee being a national title contender. I'm gonna punt on Missouri being a playoff team, and I'm going to punt on Utah winning the Big 12. That doesn't mean that these things aren't going to happen. I'm just not sure right now. This was a signature game of the weekend with Tennessee going to Oklahoma in the Josh Heupel Bowl. And Tennessee's defense looked great. Like they were out there, they forced Jackson Arnold out of the game. He played terribly. He got benched. That was a complete shock to me. He was not ready for the moment. The SEC is going to eat him alive. And then they transitioned to, I think, what was the quarterback's name? I think it's make sure I got this right. Michael Hawkins Jr. He went in and played pretty well. Threw the ball good, got some offense going, ran the ball. Very impressed with what he did. Nico Iamaleava was pretty sloppy with the football. He had plays, but again, Oklahoma may have a really good defensive line, but so do a lot of teams in the SEC. I mean, imagine going up against Georgia and doing that, or Kentucky. Like those are two teams that I know are rivals of Tennessee's that would love to. Alabama, like that could be a challenge for Nico. So maybe I crowned Nico a little bit earlier than I should have. Um, I saw the way that he plays. I saw the way the ball comes out of his hand. I'm like, okay, kind of reminds me of what I saw Tua Tagovailoa during his freshman year at Alabama. His sophomore year, he was a runner-up for the Heisman and everything like that. But I feel with Tennessee, the offense still needs to get better. Like I had some concerns about that. I know they were out blowing a lot of people out, but I'm like, this team's winning with defense, and I think that travels and that shows up really well. But that they finally played somebody who I think is pretty good. I mean, maybe not. Like again, I've been down in Oklahoma a lot, but probably not as much as I was down in NC State. You get those wins in there. I do have some concerns about the offense with Tennessee. I think really kind of once Oklahoma made the quarterback switch, that was problematic for the Vols. Again, when you make quarterback switches this early in the season, you're not prepared for it. You're like, okay, all season, here's what we do to knock out or not knock out, but like to contain Jackson Arnold. And then you get a new guy in there and you got to adjust. Again, these are 18 to 23-year-olds. This happens. But right now, Tennessee's, I think, is a playoff team. I think they can win the SEC. They might win a national title, but like right now, I feel less confident about them than I did a week ago. Moving on to Missouri. I've firmly had them on the playoff bubble all season long. They're 4-0. They had to get by Vanderbilt on a missed field goal. They went to overtime with Vanderbilt at home. And again, Vanderbilt's a lot better than I expected. Diego Pavia has the ability to make something happen. This team's playing really hard for Clark Lee, and I'm really excited about that, but it's also Vanderbilt. Um, the last 2 weeks for Missouri with Boston College and Vanderbilt, I love that they play with their food a little bit, but I have some concerns about the offense. It's really Brady Cook is like, okay, where's Luther Burden the third? Can I get him the football? And when he does, good things happen. But when he doesn't, the offense kind of stagnates. And I think that once the Tigers play better competition in the SEC, they will lose multiple times. If they're 10-2, they can make the playoff because I think that those wins over BC and Vanderbilt matter a little bit now, but like they don't have the hardest schedule. So they got to win more than expected to kind of get the benefit of the doubt. I'll tell you this much. I don't think they're going to be number 7 in the country when we start next week. Like when I look at 2 o'clock in the AP Top 25 poll, I don't think they're going to be at 7. They're going to get left by a few teams. I don't know how many. I think they'll be in the top 10. I got to kind of break this down and figure out, okay, who's making the playoff right now on Monday's show. But right now, I have some concerns about Mizzou once the competition heats up. And then finally, Utah. This is a team I can't figure out, but I've seen them play 4 games. They have great defense. They're very limited offensively. Cam Rising is always hurt. but I think going with Isaac Wilson, the kid brother of Zach Wilson, they seem to be doing enough offensively to where I think they can win low scoring games. Shootout, they've got no chance. I was impressed with the defense containing Ollie Gordon the second. He's not the same player he was a year ago. And like Cody said, make Alan Bowman try to beat you. He made some plays, but he also made some mistakes, and that allowed Utah to come out on top. Again, I have no idea who's going to win the Big 12. I thought it was Kansas State. It's going to be very interesting for me to sit there and think who it is going to be. Right now, I'm kind of leaning Iowa State. I think Iowa State's kind of got the best mix of what have you to do this. But again, whoever I have winning the Big 12 is going to be for next week because it's going to be, the SEC winner, the Big Ten winner, and the in Miami. Still got to figure out if I want to put Georgia one or Texas one, but it's probably going to be Ohio State two, Miami three. We'll see what happens at four. Yeah, thanks for tuning in with me. This was false start. This was 3 yards in a cloud of punt after week 4 of the 2024 season. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow my absent and absent-minded co-host Cody Williams at the Sizzle20. You can follow the show on CFB False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Um, oh my gosh, I can't believe Tennessee almost let Oklahoma back in this game. But I'll tell you this, I will be back and we'll be ready to rock on Monday. Thanks for tuning in, and this was False Start.